Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very accomplished and senior coach from Belgium, Barbara Vercruysse. Barbara, welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you for inviting me, for having me.
Thank you. Barbara is the Chief Executive Officer of the Barbara Vercruysse Coaching Institute. She's the founder of Barbara School of Wisdom. She's a kindness advocate, a mentor, a personal coach, a business coach, a thought leader, and a public speaker. And she's a stage 4 cancer survivor. That's an amazing track record and amazing set of achievements. So, Barbara, let's start talking about kindness advocate. Help me understand what this means with an example.
Yes. Well, it's really, first of all, it's leading by example. Mm-hmm. I believe only, like words have no value if you cannot demonstrate it yourself. Mm-hmm. So in my business coaching, I do a lot of business coaching with BMW. BMW is one of my biggest clients. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's really demonstrating that when we, there's a discussion or fight of egos, or in a company, it's always about people. It's with people. If you have a common vision and common goal, it's so important to have everybody engaged and really teaching them that when we can have a mature conversation with kindness, and we will have quicker and better results instead of fighting, standing, fighting for our right. No, just opening up and in a kind way, because kindness is building bridges, it's keeping the conversation open. And we always achieve a lot more in doing that than in just wanting to fight, in just being convinced, in separating ourselves from the other human being, whether it's in a work environment, in a personal environment, it's as important in both environments.
Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. So let's start talking about your School of Wisdom, and then we'll come to your journey as a coach. You have a School of Wisdom called the Barbara School of Wisdom. Tell me about the school and what you do there.
Well, that's an online school. I created an online course, The Journey, and that name just came up like that because I think to have a very conscious life, a life where we are creating consciously a positive legacy, we have to go back deep in ourselves and look for ourselves, which are the main values around which we want to build our lives. For me, it has always been love and kindness and wisdom and sharing that. So I believe we need knowledge in life. We need knowledge for the practical.
Correct.
But there's something more important. Applied knowledge, applied life experiences lead to wisdom. Which transforms ourselves, and in transforming ourselves, we transform the world. That's why I deliberately chose that word. And in that course that I created, I take people by the hand and guide them from where they are now. Mostly it's stuck unconsciously. They arrived in a place in their life where like, oh my God, I don't feel happy right now. I don't feel fulfilled. Like, how can we turn around? It's never too late. It's never too soon, never too late to really, become aware of the power you have within yourself to make those transformations.
Oh, interesting. And, when I was reading about you, you say that your goal is complete fulfillment, ultimate self-confidence, and pure soul living. Each of these 3 phrases means something different to me, and yet you have knitted it all together. Please explain this maybe with an example.
I think it starts every single morning. Correct. When we open our eyes and we wake up,
Mm-hmm.
In what state of mind or state of being do we wake up?
Mm-hmm.
Do we wake up with a to-do list and we, like we hurry, we take our phone, we see the emails, and we start running and hurrying through the day, which means that our work or unconscious living really runs our life. We are not a master of our life. We are run. Or do we wake up, we open our eyes in gratitude, being grateful to be breathing, to be alive, to have a beautiful bedroom, a roof over our head, and be mindful, set our intentions for the day. That's how I start my day, like a grateful way, and then setting in my intention. Whatever comes my path today, I will deal with it with grace and ease.
Well said.
We all know we have calm days, we have stormy days, but being prepared, setting that intention at the beginning of the day, we go in a much more quiet way through the day. Because things go wrong all of the time. And we just have to stay outside, like outside the waves, centered and calm, and knowing that, like it's not because you get a bad comment from your boss or a business deal is not closing that the world is ending.
Correct.
Just staying calm and centered and knowing. And I think especially for younger listeners, because once, like you and I, we have gone through all those years and having, like we know the seas, we know. But if you have your first storm, you're thinking, oh my God, now I'm going to drown. I'm not going to survive. But it's exactly that storm which will make you a more skilled captain. Because if you survive the storm, you have built a part of inner strength. And it's that, like that dynamic in staying calm and centered inwardly and having the outside circumstances who can a bit shake you up.
How amazing. How amazing. And when you talk about unlocking our soul's true calling and live our life with purpose, passion, and confidence, how do you explain this?
Well, most of us in childhood, we are molded into a system. We all have the same education and we are brainwashed day by day, saying that you need the degree, you need the title, and you need marriage to be a happy person.
Correct.
That is a saying to an orchid, a rose, to say to an oak, you all have to become tulips.
Yes.
Society says the tulip, being a tulip, is the key to success, is the key to happiness.
Correct.
Well, it took me quite some time to realize I'm not a tulip. I'm more happy in expressing myself as a rose.
Correct.
And that's so when, like that brainwashing, having that being said by culture in a large sense, by peers and school community, parents, it takes them some time to undo yourself. There are people who have a strong calling. Let's say you're a writer, an artist, a painter, and whatever somebody else says, you don't believe it. You say, I'm an artist, I'm good. But most people just have never the chance to connect. Maybe you're passionate about numbers and you would love to be an accountant, but your parents say, no, law, you have to study law. So you have to suppress a part of yourself. Maybe you're a teacher, maybe you're a baker, but for some reason you have good points in math and they say, no, you have to study math, but you prefer to, like to bake, to put your love in food. So that soulful living is quite a journey inward first, undoing yourself from what you have been told and really realizing what is your fullest expression as a human.
Oh, interesting. And yet, Barbara, most of us go through the same phases in life and the realization comes when we are older.
Yes.
What happens
Yes.
to the young people who are listening to our conversation? How do they take a call? Because they will be guided by parents,
yes.
society, and culture.
I think younger people, and I see that I have 3 young adult children, 22, 21, and 19. They have a higher awareness already. They are much better informed. My oldest will graduate as a business engineer in a few months. And yet she has said she is already, like asked by Deloitte or Ernst & Young, they all, like want young people. And she has said, no, Mom, I'm not going to run into a professional life without consciously thinking, what do I really want?
Well said.
So that's not what, when I started working 30 years ago, we were happy to have a job. We were just happy that we had work.
Correct.
And our parents, but now they're more conscious because they have seen how their parents have been stressed out, have been, like having a life which is completely dominated by work and earning money. And they're already reflecting, do I really want to have the same life as my parents? So I think it's in generations, step by step. What helps also, which helped me in my case, at 32, when I was faced with a cancer, they told me you have 6 more months to live. So when you have facing a huge crisis, those huge crises offer you the opportunity because you are, like the entire ground around your feet is taken away. And then you're like, who am I? What do I really want? So when you're younger, or you just go, like making conscious choices, or maybe you are blessed enough to have that crisis where you are shaken up and you can become like more conscious. What do you really want?
How interesting. And the message you are giving everyone is to get yourself centered.
Yes.
It's as they say about a pendulum. It may swing from left to the right, but it comes and rests right in the center. So
and trust your inner compass.
And trust your. What a powerful message you're giving us. Thank you. So, Barbara, you also talk about the journey from being powerless in our life to becoming the master of our life.
Yes.
Talk to me about this.
So many people go through life as a victim of their circumstances.
Correct.
I get so many messages a day. People, whether they write me from Africa, from Asia, from South America, United States, and they say, like, Barbara, it's easy for you. You live in Belgium. And they say, we live here. We have no chances. We have, and that's making yourself powerless. First of all, I was not born with a silver spoon in my hand. I had to, I have overcome a lot, which made me a lot stronger. And I am grateful that I live in a free country where we are, where most people have the chance to study and to make something of their lives. I'm not living in a dictatorship. I have free speech. I have, as a woman, I could study. So I know that. But we have, if you say it's because of my location, geographical location, that I cannot develop myself, you make yourself a victim of your circumstance. So our life, we all are rowing our boat in the sea. Some people have a yacht, other people have a little boat. But whatever circumstance you're in, you still have the choice. Even if you're not deciding and not choosing, that's also a choice.
Correct.
So you can use your circumstance as a fuel for growth. And that's when you become powerful. Of course, you need patience. We all need patience. And especially when you have difficult circumstances, just go inside and start counting your blessings first. If you have a healthy body, if you have a healthy mind, it is within your power to make changes in your life. Even if you're living in, let's say, Zimbabwe, you're living in the Philippines, step by step, it's in the taking action that we become powerful.
How amazing. Thank you for such a great response. So now let's move to coaching.
Yes.
You have your own coaching institute. Let me start by asking you, what made you become a coach?
Well, I think I was born for a large part a coach, and I have been doing that my entire life without having the name. I run a construction business until 2016.
Okay.
So in 2003, I was diagnosed with a stage 4 cancer, which made me reflect about life. Until then, I followed the path that I thought would lead me to a happy life, a path based on unconscious choices, but mostly based on the expectations of my parents, on the expectations of peers. So my parents had been running a construction business, and I wanted to be an entrepreneur, a business owner. And I started in another town, my own construction business. But with surviving the cancer, I had like, okay, I started this construction. Is that what I really want? And I felt like, no. But it took me from 2003 to another setback in 2016 to have the courage, of course, to follow coaching certification courses and to transform myself. And still, I was afraid to let go of because everybody knew me as the business owner running a construction business, and stepping out in the world and changing and saying, well, I'm a coach now,
well said.
was like scary. But then in 2016, I was betrayed by 2 of my employees, and I ended up in huge debt, and I had to close my company. So I cried for 2 days. I was like devastated. But then after 2 days, I told myself, okay, I'm in this horrible situation right now. I'm 46 years old. I have hundreds of thousands of euros of debt. What can I do right now? And I saw it as a sign, you could say the universe, a sign of God, like Barbara, it's time to, change lanes.
Correct.
And you could say, I reinvented myself. And very quickly, I got an opportunity to work with BMW as a business coach. And from there on, I created my new business. So we're now 6 years further, and everything is, over, all the debts, everything is gone away. And I'm running a thriving business. And it has, for me personally, it has even been a bigger lesson than the cancer, because in rebuilding, in starting from below zero again, it gave me a sense of self-confidence, and you could say a very big realization of our inner worth, that whatever happens tomorrow, if all my material possessions are taken away, I know my value is not in those material possessions. I know my value is not in the titles. I know my value is inside me, the value that I can offer to the world, and I can start all over again. It's difficult, it's hard, and it's not always pleasant, but it builds our inner strength.
How wonderful, how wonderful. So I have time for 2 more questions. I've got to come to your book now. You're writing a book or a paper titled The Path of Powerful Kindness.
Yes.
Please tell me more.
Well, I feel my entire life, I have been called too kind. Barbara, you're too kind for this world. Barbara, you will never, achieve anything. You're just too kind. And as a child, I could not understand what people meant. You're too kind. I was thinking, in what world did I end up here? Too kind. Do I have to be less kind? Am I arriving in a place where I have to be less kind? And that took me quite some time to deeply understand, first of all, the power of kindness. And I will tell a story out I'm Belgium. I'm raised Christian. And there's one story of Jesus which has hit me from childhood on, where he says, if somebody slaps you on one cheek, turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
Many people say you're a doormat when you're doing that. I don't believe that. If somebody slaps you on that cheek, the person who slaps is the weak one. He is eaten away by aggression, emotions that he cannot control, and he's the weak one. So in showing someone your other cheek, you show that you are calm and centered, and not even, you could say, affected by the poisonous aggression of the other person. So that's what the power, the path of powerful kindness is, which I think is a sign of maturity also. On television, in social media, we get so many displays of immaturity. People fighting each other. It's as if it's almost propagated, like fighting, the drama. That's not a fulfilled and happy life. The drama, the negativity, the fighting. I think we need more displays of people, even with a different perspective, with a different point of view. They can be respectful. They can listen to each other and maybe shake hands at the end and say, okay, I appreciate you. You may have a different perspective. That's maturity.
Correct. What you're saying reminds me of what a Gandhi did or what a Mandela did.
Yes, absolutely. They are my, like Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Mandela. They're at the, like the background of my computer. There are big examples. I deeply believe in a non-violent way of going through life.
How wonderful. How wonderful. And Barbara, my last question to you, and this is for the many, many people who will listen to our conversation. Based on the amazing life that you've just spoken about, a businesswoman, very successful, had problems, have tackled a personal health challenge, have built an amazing institute for wisdom, for School of Wisdom, coaching, and this whole concept of centricity that you are driving home, and kindness and gratitude that you're driving home through this entire conversation. What would you say are 3 lessons you would want our viewers and listeners to take away from our conversation?
First of all, fulfillment and happiness is just in front of you. Don't chase it too far away. Look closely.
Yeah.
Look at your smiling mom who just made you breakfast.
Yeah.
Look at a friend who just texted you to see how you were doing. Look at the roof over your head. It's a cliche, I know, but the attitude of appreciation and gratitude will bring you very far, a lot farther than the attitude that you're lacking something. You are lacking nothing because it's inside you. So that appreciation. Then never think about what you can take from life, but rather what you can give back. What is the legacy you are building?
Correct.
Do it from an early age. Because you will not take anything in your grave, not your Ferrari, not your big house, not your titles.
Correct.
No, it's the imprints in other people's lives, in other people's hearts.
Yep.
And that's a huge one. And third one, every challenge, every difficulty you face on a daily basis are opportunities for growth, are opportunities to develop yourself. Your parents, in your marriage, your husband, wife, those are your biggest teachers. Teachers to teach you compassion, to teach you unconditional love, to teach you forgiveness.
Wonderful.
So it's not far away. It's very close in your life.
Wonderful. Barbara, on that note, and starting with what you said, applied life experiences lead to wisdom, and to become centered, to see happiness right in front of you. Thank you so much for speaking to me. Thank you for talking to me about your incredible journey, about everything that you're doing to help so many people across the world understand the importance of kindness, the importance of uh, being able to look away if there is a problem and to find solutions within yourself.
Yes.
And thank you for sharing such powerful lessons with all our viewers and listeners. Thank you again for speaking to me, and good luck.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for giving me that opportunity.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.